Aujourd'hui, on a quelque chose de spécial pour vous. En février, notre équipe internationale a pu visiter le studio Warhorse, les créateurs de Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Ils y ont réalisé ce documentaire sur les dernières heures du développement avant la sortie. C'est une collaboration entre plusieurs équipes européennes de Webedia afin de forger le format PLATINUM, format sur lequel bosse aussi JV. Cette vidéo est la première de cette série. Bon visionnage à tous.
It's quiet here today.
This one is going to be awesome.
They can smell bullshit.
It was still kept very, very in secret.
Warhorse, it leaked. Bastards.
Kingdom Come Deliverance released in 2018 to a generally positive acclaim. Even though the game had its technical issues, the adventures of Henry of Skalitz proved to be something unique in the gaming industry. Today, with over 8 million copies sold, over 80% positive reviews from the players, and an infinite number of "I feel quite hungry's" uttered by our beloved hero, Warhorse Studio aims to release a sequel that's going to be bigger, better, and more successful. You've been enjoying your second adventure in medieval Bohemia for a while now, but we're here today, exactly one day before the game launches, to give you a glimpse on what the final hours of releasing a game look like, and to talk with the developers about all things KCD2. This is the final countdown. Hi. Hi there.
Hello, welcome to Warhorse. How can I help you?
I'm with the media. We're supposed to be recording with you guys today.
Oh, yes. No, we've been expecting you. If you wait here, my friend will be with you in just a second. Can I get you anything in the meantime? Water, coffee, bathhouse services, maybe?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just wait right there.
Hi, I'm Tom.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Shall we do this?
Yeah, please follow me.
Great, thank you. Tom, listen, the guy at the reception, do I know him from somewhere?
No, he's just got one of those faces.
Do you know who I am?
What do you do at Warhorse?
Oh, you know, this and that. So, here we are.
But wait, where is everyone?
Guys, you are in for a treat.
Avant de parler du présent, il faut faire un petit saut dans le passé.
I always wanted to create something from our history. Another thing is that there was almost no historical games that are not strategies, let's say. In my opinion, there was a huge hole in the market. We founded the company together with Martin and started to work on it. And it was quite tough because nobody believed that his purely historical game is commercially possible.
2008 to 2009, I was working in Codemasters in UK, so as a producer. Then I came back to Czech Republic. I was wondering, what am I going to do? My friend Viktor Bocan came to me and introduced me to Dan Vavra. And of course I knew Dan from before, but we didn't meet before in person. So I was aware of him, of his work, and he introduced me to his concept of realistic medieval RPG. I thought it's a great idea. And it's completely Dan's idea, and I immediately saw that it's going to work. It's the kind of game I would like to play, and that really nobody did anything even remotely similar before.
It was a quite tough start at the beginning because we had to find money not the traditional way. Investors, Kickstarter, years of actually struggle to make it happen.
We started looking for investors, and of course we approached various gaming companies, and they all unimpressed by our pitch. And then we approached venture capitalists. Of course, in Czech Republic, there are no similar success stories of a venture capitalist funding a game studio and then exiting it and making a lot of money. The only people who did this were Peter Wachowska and the people who backed him, and then they were able to sell the company to 2K. We had a cool pitch, I believe, and we were trying to explain what we are doing, and we had a lot of meetings, but in the end the response was always, don't call us, we will call you. And we were pitching the game to these people and showing them this is the running demo, you can take a controller and play it. And they always said, well, we are not sure. We think that Facebook is future of gaming. And what about companion apps? Are you planning a companion app? We think this is the last generation of consoles. There will be no more console gaming. After maybe 2 years, we were able to approach Mr. Bakala, who was one of the select few Czech billionaires, and he made a lot of money in banking, and he owned several coal mines in Czech Republic. And so when he learned about our project, he seemed excited and agreed to finance the startup. That's how Warhorse Studios was born in 2011. In August, we were incorporated, we started hiring people, and we started working on the game. We didn't yet know it will be called Kingdom Come Deliverance. It was very recognizably the game that we then released in 2018.
For us, it was more important to find out whether people are interested in Kingdom Come or not. It was more like a voting by wallets. The most efficient market surveys we could have eventually done. Original idea was, okay, so if you have say 10,000 people telling us this is good, go ahead, we would be more than happy. And finally it was more than 35,000 people. It was actually a fantastic result, and it gave us some freedom, creative freedom, in financial freedom. We could have continued in developing the game. That was more than what we wanted.
And as it turned out, we got much more money on Kickstarter than the amount I mentioned. And then we did a crowdfunding campaign on our own webpage. And in the end, we got so much money that we nearly were able to finance the development all the way till we were able to secure the advance from the publisher.
Aujourd'hui, on connaît tous Kingdom Come Deliverance, mais il y a toute une histoire derrière ce nom.
Generally, Kingdom Come is this religious Die Kingdom Come, so that's from that. It's a little bit funny because I wanted to have some series name, just like the Elder Scrolls something. So the Kingdom Come was supposed to be something like the Elder Scrolls, and then the Deliverance would be the name of the game, because everybody says Skyrim, Arena, blah blah blah. But it turned totally opposite. People started using the whole name. So
I remember that the original dance pitch, it was called Hammerheart, which, like, you are a blacksmith. But Hammerheart, I also think, is the name of some metal album or song. It was not really good name because it was already trademarked.
C'était les débuts du projet. Ça a été un long chemin entre le lancement du financement participatif en janvier 2014, une campagne réussie avec plus de 2 millions récoltés, et la sortie du jeu en février 2018. Entre tout ça, il s'en est passé du temps. Tout d'abord, il fallait trouver un héros principal, ce qui n'a pas été simple.
We wanted to have a universal actor that's able to be funny and at the same time is a little bit tougher, which turned out to be quite complicated. So we had limited options because thanks to the fact that the game is historical, we prefer English actors for the accent and everything. So we were limited to English actors. And when we did the casting, I received a lot of proposals and nobody was funny, which was bizarre. We had this test scene that we sent to them, and the scene was supposed to be funny. It was basically a joke, and everybody was playing it as a drama. So basically everybody was crying during it. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's a joke, why are you crying? And out of, I don't know, 100 or 60 actors or something. Just few were actually getting what it is. And one of them was Tom and one of them was Luke. Originally we casted a different actor for the role. Tom was the second. I don't know if he will like to hear it, but he knows it. But generally the other actor was very similar. We already signed the deal, and then he was casted to some Netflix show, so he rejected in the end. Okay. It was very similar actor in terms of performance and looks as Tom generally, and he was also called Tom, I think.
On connaît tous la suite. Tom McKay joue le rôle principal et Luke Dale incarne Hans Capon. Mais comme ils ont tous les deux passé le casting pour Henry, comment est-ce que Dan a-t-il fait son choix?
At the time he was very young and very unexperienced, but literally he was top 3 from the test. My opinion was that he's too edgy for the main character, which probably should be a little bit more universal. Yeah. So everybody could kind of relate to him a little bit more.
Le studio avait le financement, l'histoire, le casting, le développement avançait bien. Mais plus la sortie approchait, plus les choses se compliquaient.
After we released the first game, it was a huge success, let's say, especially for the small company which we were. So it allowed us to have a little bit more resources to make another one. I don't know if we managed to establish a new genre, but maybe we did. At least we proven that it's possible and that there's a demand for such thing. I hope that there will be some other similar games, let's say.
This was rather stressful release, and compared to KST2, which we now experience in, so we have something to compare. That was pretty tough, Indeed, a couple of days before the actual release, in February 2018, we had some signals from Steam, like from the application. Oh, okay, geez, it's picking up, it's getting better and better, so it will fly. But to the very last minute, we were unsure. As much as we expected or wanted to expect or maybe wished that this will be a success, we didn't know.
The overriding feeling was we did it, we managed to do it, we really finished it. And there were moments when it seemed like a very distant goal and we were not sure if we are going to be able to finish it at all, especially on the technical side. The KCD1 didn't run perfectly on the then console generation, but it did run and you could play it, and that's no small feat. I remember maybe a year before release, we were maybe 2 gigabytes over memory budget, and we were able to cut this 2 gigabytes of memory usage in, 12, 16 months. That's no small feat. There were times where we were thinking, maybe we won't publish on consoles at all, maybe we will do a split release and release on PC, and then maybe on consoles half a year later, if we are able to optimize it better. And in the end, we were able to optimize it in time for the release, simultaneous release on all platforms. That was great.
What I did for the first half year after the first game is that I sat down and was preparing a big document that generally addressed all the issues and shortcomings and possible upgrades for the features of the first game. And based on that we created a design document and plans how to upgrade everything. Not everything in the end happened, so there's a lot of things that we had to scratch because they were still too complicated to do. But generally that was the goal from the beginning. So it took me a lot of time and effort to decide what to do with the mechanics and stuff from the first game, how to make it better.
We were finishing KCD1, we transformed from this really small and medium-sized studio into a big studio, but we still were very lean, especially on the production side. And we felt that we really need to address this, that with this 100+ people, we can no longer rely on this ad hoc communication between people in various teams, that we really need to have some kind of more organized development, organized structure, even though it meant, of course, some loss of flexibility.
Une fois le premier jeu terminé, le studio s'est tourné vers l'avenir. Comment est-ce que l'on peut améliorer non seulement le jeu, mais aussi tout le processus de production?
For example, the pipeline for the cutscenes was already done, and we now can focus on improving the pipeline, so it's more effective and the result is better, right? The second thing is that I was able to hire much more people just for the cutscenes. By the end, we had 12 cinematics, which is almost like triple the size of the original team. Third big difference is that we did some significant updates in the motion capture as well. We implemented performance capture. We had quite a bigger stage to record the cutscenes in. Even though it doesn't seem like that, the stage is still quite small. Believe me, it's much bigger than the original one that we had in previous offices. All the characters models were remodeled again because we had, for the second game, the technical standards are much higher than for the first one. So yes, we had to remodel almost everything.
There are a couple tracks where I used string quartet. I wanted to use it in the first installment of KCD already, and that there wasn't a good place to do it. Now it was. And again, I used solo vocal, female vocal, which was again sung by my wife, which sounds like a nepotism, and maybe it is. Actually, I don't know if she was ever getting paid. But anyway, the thing is, you know, she's a wonderful professional musician, and if you have somebody like that at home, and she is willing to come at 10 p.m. into your office and record something because she's a brilliant singer, that helps a lot. Actually, players know her from the DLC number 3. She sung there the Apple, the Ablichko, the song. Yeah, so this voice is coming back. Only in a couple of situations, but yeah, that's like where it fits very nicely, and it brings an extra emotion to the cutscene.
For Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, you had this huge obligation and low expectations. And in KCD2, the expectations are high. Because of the success of the first game, obviously everybody else is expecting us to outperform KCD1. The game was more expensive, more people have been working on it. We spent maybe twice as much man-months developing KCD2. So all this effort had to be visible somewhere, and it should translate to more sales, more happy players. So the expectations are much higher, and this obligation or responsibility, or however we want to call it, are different. The first game for us was really do or die. We were a private company owned by an investor. We had no track record, we had nothing to fall back on. If KCD1 flopped, that would be the end of it. There was absolutely no doubt about it that would be the end of it. Nobody would even buy the studio or buy the IP. If the game was unsuccessful, why would anyone?
En 2019, le studio est racheté par PlayOn. Parmi les équipes, on a pu alors craindre une certaine perte d'indépendance au niveau des processus créatifs.
It's important to say that we are, and we were, and we still are, very grateful for that fact that operationally Warhorse can still have and will have the creative freedom. We really did what we wanted, in a way how we wanted. From that perspective, nothing has changed. And in fact, when they acquiring us, we already started Kingdom Come 2. It was not like you did one game, now we buy you, and then now we tell you what we want you to develop. So they just supported us in indeed, you know, personally, financially, in the marketing to continue that effort. But within the studio, really nothing has changed. I mean, a lot of things has changed, but it was things we wanted to change by ourselves after finishing KCD1.
Il est temps d'aller vers l'avant. Pendant des années, tout le monde s'est demandé si une suite allait voir le jour. Après le succès du premier jeu, les DLC, l'édition royale et même un portage sur Nintendo Switch, l'espoir était de mise pour une suite.
Initially in the marketing team, we wanted to announce the game like 4 times before we actually announced it, and we were waiting for the right moment. So that was the timing discussion. Then of course there was the creative discussion of how we are about to actually announce the game, because people didn't know that we are making a sequel to KCD1. So it was a secret, and we kept it a secret for the entire production of KCD2 from 2019. There were speculations, of course, but and we knew that everybody wants that we are making KCD2, and it was really funny reading the Reddit threads where people were like, if they are making anything else, we'll torch their building, stuff like that. So we had to work with that as well.
Le studio commence alors à teaser les fans avec des images postées sur les réseaux sociaux, 4 images diffusées de temps en temps, dont une silhouette à cheval qui ne ressemblait pas à un personnage de bohème médiéval.
There was one guy that says, this is Dan Vabra on a horse, and he will tell us that we are about to announce KCD2. We've put the letters K, C, D, and Romani 2 into every one of these. There were 40 of pictures, and we put K, C, D into the one by one into every of the picture. It was very hidden, but if we knew that some of our fans are really like, you know, zooming it in to the absolute maximum, and he found it and he put it on Reddit, and people were like, oh, you're going crazy, man, change your meds, and this is, and he was right all the time.
Finalement, le 18 avril 2024, les fans ont eu ce qu'ils attendaient. Le reveal ne contenait pas seulement une bande-annonce, il y avait aussi une présentation du jeu par l'équipe, une présentation des 2 acteurs principaux et aussi les musiques dirigées par Jan Walta, jouant les morceaux que les fans adorent.
It was shot in Gothenburg, the main capital of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. In the Saint Barbara Church, which is like the, let's say, the monument people go there for. And we shot it actually exactly a year ago, the end of January 2024. We shot it for 3 days. We shot it in Gothenburg on purpose. One, of course, it's the setting of the game. And when we were having like creative chats how we are about to execute the announcement, there were some people that said, let's just shoot it in the office. It will be easier and it won't be as expensive, but where would the fun be, right? I think that's what made the whole thing special, sort of like having this conceptual setting and starting it in Gothenburg with the mysterious rider and then having the orchestra in the cathedral. It's like such a unique setting that we haven't seen anything like that in game reveals before.
Originally, this Saint Barbara theme was meant to be played around the Saint Barbara church, which is built like next to the magnificent walls of the Gothenburg town. So I wanted to give it the grace and the gloriousness as it is now. But the thing is, you know, we are 1403. Church of St. Barbara back then was like maybe 2 meters high, maybe less, because it was still under construction. And because of the war, you know, the building was stuck. It was a working site. It was not that glorious as now it is. I already had the theme. And it looked like that's actually quite cool. I liked it. So I've decided that I will record this track in a like bit bigger official version, and I will record it live with 66 musicians in the orchestra and 40 people choir. It was supposed to be one of like 6, maybe 7 tracks you hear when when the game starts. You start the build, you know, and you see the main menu, and some music starts, you know. I actually maybe had originally 1 or 2 other candidates for that. But then there is this guy from the studio, his name is Vítek. He came to me and was like, listen, we are gonna be doing this announcement video, you know, about the game and all the things, and we just don't wanna announce it through a trailer. We want to do like a whole big show about it. And why don't we just finish it all? And he described me all the parts. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Wow, this sounds good. And Luke and Tom are gonna be in it together, you know, in live, in person. Wow, this is amazing. Oh, I was like, this is great, this is great, this is great. And then he said like, well, what do you say if we would just finish it all, you know, with your Saint Barbara theme? I was like, yeah. So I really didn't expect that. So I would never believe, you know, the music, you know, would have such a prominent spot, you know, anywhere. It's like, wow. So I was, of course, very happy. We have been doing this recording then with musicians in back then freezing St. Barbara Church, already built, already in its gloriousness, and that was like -6 or -7 degrees Celsius, I think maybe. It was like really pretty bad for musicians. It was a hell of an experience. It was an amazing thing. I mean, yeah, hadn't it been for Vítek, it probably wouldn't have this status, because he's, okay, I composed it, that much I can say, but he's the guy who elevated it up, you know, and he put all the spotlights on it. So, yeah, thanks, Vítek.
C'était essentiel de garder cette annonce secrète pour préserver la surprise. Heureusement, il n'y a pas eu de fuite. Tant mieux, non?
Actually, it leaked It leaked not the footage of the announcement, but footage of our trailer that was part of the announcement game reveal. It leaked actually one night before we announced it in April. So we were very happy it hasn't leaked until the day of the announcement that I woke up at 7 a.m. I have like 90 missed calls from Luke. Oh man, look at the Twitter. Fuck man, this is. And it leaked like a cut down of the trailer on one of our advertising partners' webpage.
I was still awake because I was very excited. And Roxy, funnily enough, messaged me and said, Luke, the game's been leaked. You need to have a look. And so I was calling Toby, I was calling Vitek, and they were asleep. You know, it's 3 a.m. in Prague, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I think as soon as they woke up, damage control, you know, panic stations, and they got it all taken down. And then, but it's kind of a testament to the fans as well, because a lot of people I read were like, even if it has been leaked, I'm still gonna wait until Warhorse fully release all this stuff. I don't want to ruin it for myself. I want it all to come from them. And if you do that as a fan, it's for the best, because you get it properly.
So we had to kill every single Facebook post and Reddit post throughout the day so it wouldn't spread, and it didn't, which is because we knew it would completely ruin the surprise. The whole intro with Tom and Luke meeting, it would be ruined.
I'd been shown it and I was like, this is something else, you know, this is crazy. This is, I mean, I think other studios could learn a lot from what Warhorse did. You know, you could feel the passion behind it and why. Projecting the game upon the halls of St. Barbara, it's inspired. It's absolutely genius, isn't it? And I think that's only comes from when a studio and a team are as passionate as Warhorse are.
Il est désormais temps de rejoindre Henri et Hans dans leur quête pour livrer la lettre à Otto von Bergow. Mais quelle lettre? Ah, celle-là, bien évidemment.
We, by the will of God, lords and nobles of the Kingdom of Bohemia, and likewise His Grace Margrave Jobst of Luxembourg, Elector of Brandenburg, hereby send you, Sir Otto, Lord von Bergow, and Royal
Chamberlain, our respectful greetings. It is surely as clear to you as it is to us that our beloved kingdom has descended into a deplorable state of unrest, lawlessness, and hostilities,
casting a regrettable shadow over the legacy of our late revered Emperor Charles IV.
Eternal glory to his name.
His heirs Wenceslas and Sigismund are in conflict, and our noble houses throughout the land
have become entrenched in mutual dispute and dissent. As the nobility of this illustrious kingdom, it is our divine duty to endeavour to bring much desired peace to Bohemia, and likewise its righteous king. Enough of folly and wretchedness. Let us now unite our noble houses in seeking to make amends, punish the sinners as befits. Please accept this letter from the hand of our noble friend and envoy, Sir Hans Capon of Perkstein and Leipa, and his squire, Sir Henry of Scanitz,
and to submit to them your considered response. In the name of Jesus Christ, laid down at Rattay Castle by the undersigned in AD 1403.
It's the direct continuation of the first game, so basically where it ends, this one starts. The first one was not closed, there was a huge cliffhanger at the end, so basically we continue, and everything that was started in the first game is finished in the second one. It's about the civil war in Bohemia where the king is abducted by his brother who is trying to take over the kingdom. Our hero is a victim of some raids on cities that produce silver, and he wants to have revenge, but at the same time they want to save the king and kind of end the war. The second game is much bigger in terms of politics and scope than the first game, which was just focused on the main character and his struggle in some rural areas. This time it's much more about politics and kind of bigger picture of what's happening. Concept of the full story was done at the beginning, so the second game was already established 10 years ago, and the original plan was to kind of have the whole story told to the first game, which was not possible and quite naive, because even the second one took us a lot of work, so it was totally impossible to do it in the first game. But I believe that there is going to be a second game because I was quite convinced that it's going to be a successful game. And especially after Kickstarter and all the publicity we got and reactions of the people, and everybody was very positive about it, so I was quite sure the possibility of second game would be quite high.
We are like looking at the story from two different perspectives. One is like what's happening in the world and the lore of the world. And obviously there, in the beginning of the 15th century, when the game takes place, there was a raging civil war. But then the other perspective is the personal story of Henry.
I think for the fans who enjoyed the first game, what you'll enjoy about the second is the step up into adulthood for Henry. You were dealing with bandits and small town problems, and now you're dealing with kings and you're dealing with really big armies and big boy problems, and you've got to rise to the occasion, and I think that's quite exciting. You know, just like in life, you have to grow up and things get tougher as you go along, and that's good. You know, the new challenges and seeing Henry grow in that way is really exciting. So I think they'll enjoy that.
KCD1 was from a child to a man, and KCD2 is from a man to a warrior. And specifically to a warrior, not a hero. He still has this kind of struggle with his past self when he still feels that he failed. You know, his parents died in the first game, and he still kind of feels that he should have been braver. In his humble way, he's trying to prove himself. He's trying to do good, or at least to not, you know, do too much evil. So it's like this personal journey, and yeah, he has his enemies from the first game, and yes, they will be end to the story that began in KCD1.
KCD raconte une histoire ancrée dans l'histoire réelle. Il y a donc deux types de personnages, les fictifs comme Henri et les personnages historiques qu'il faut traiter différemment en écriture.
With the completely historical characters, the limitations are, for example, you can't kill them because they actually lived, and people can research them. It would feel weird if you change history, so you can't change, the history of Europe in our game. So these are the limitations we had when writing the story, and even some characters. when it was well known that some character behaved in a way, we had to retain them. But we had a lot of freedom with the new characters. So when you come up with interesting Gutenberg burger, for example, you could come up with anything basically.
The characters that are invented and the characters that are like pre-written by history, their starting point is really not that far off. The only difference is that with the historical character, you have to be careful not to break the continuous of our timeline, so they will survive. The Ratzig will survive because he will die in 1412 when a mob of angry monks will trample him to death because of a tax issue. Marquard von Aulitz, there's some debate of where he died and how he died. In terms of like character biography, I think Marquard is the only one where we maybe did something which was better for the story, but it was not completely historically accurate.
Chez Warhorse, la façon de concevoir un jeu est unique. C'est souvent très hardcore et à l'ancienne. Concrètement, il y a très peu de studios qui prennent autant de risques en créant leurs œuvres.
The combination of like this almost an old school RPG with the open world is something that not many people do. As you said, even action games nowadays do some form of open world. Even the new Doom game that was just announced, announced that you will be able to, explore and find tidbits. So basically every bigger game has some sense of open world. But in Kingdom Come, really, it is the sense that the open world isn't some addition. It's like integral part of the experience. We kind of felt that the type of game that KCD1 was the type of game we want to make. We just wanted to make a better, more mature, more polished product. So that's basically what KCD2 open world should feel. It should feel more, or the animations are better, or the behavior and AI is better. Your connection to the world should be better, or the reactions from people are better. Even now you can respond to many people, even to the small things, the new feature we have when you can quickly respond to people. There's all these little things that kind of elevates the experience, but the basic feeling of this like very grounded, realistic world that everything makes sense should be still the same. We have our reputation system that not only the NPCs will remember what happened, but they will even tell other NPCs, and they will like behave appropriately. For example, you will persuade them not to do anything with your action, for example crime, their reputation is still lowered. So they'll start to greet you differently, they will be less cheerful, it will be harder to persuade them in quests. If there are traders, it will be harder, they will raise prices just for you. In KCD1, they have their clothes on, and if you steal the clothes, they don't have them. So this kind of design principles stay the same, but we said, okay, so KCD2 should be bigger, better, more polished. And so how can we do more with this? Now, for example, not only can you steal the clothes from the NPCs, but you can also give them clothes. If you drop clothes, or if you give clothes to their chests, and if it fits their presets and is more expensive, they will actually wear that thing. And if it fits him, he will wear it. And if it doesn't fit him, he will stash it in his chest. But his chest is used by more people. So if it doesn't fit his preset, his clothing preset, but it does fit the preset of somebody from his family, he will take it from the chest and wear it. And these are the small things that most of the studios would say, no guys, cut it. This is too complex, it would introduce bugs, don't do it. But for us, the living open world is so important that we do even these little crazy things.
Pour donner un exemple un peu fou, on peut citer que le jeu intègre un système de réputation qui influence le comportement des PNJ. Ça, c'est déjà très fort. Mais ce qui est encore mieux, c'est qu'il y a un second système, parallèle.
And the other system is angriness. And that's when you do things in a region, bad things, for example, if you steal or kill, but nobody ever sees you, so nobody connects it with you, your reputation never goes down. The angriness nevertheless goes up, and that means new guards will roam the region, even the common people will start to arm themselves. It feels like your actions in the games have logical, outcomes.
Puisque le jeu se déroule dans des lieux réels, ça représente un défi supplémentaire pour la conception.
KCD is a little different from other games in regard that, the authenticity and historical accuracy is really important for us. So all the locations, all the height maps, all the maps, everything is, derived from real locations. But what we sometimes do, that we cut boring places from these locations and we kind of squeeze the important locations more closer together.
So we need to put them closer, because in reality it's a few kilometers and you will want to walk a few kilometers in the game. But this condensation brings a lot of problems, like the height levels will change. We need to get the level from all the possible angles and try to find a balance between the condensation and the believability of the world. But if you look closer, then everything is changed and not much left unchanged from KCD. All the vegetation is improved, recolored, retextured, upscaled. Terrain textures are completely new. All the houses, all the buildings are very new. It might look the same because it's the same medieval time, but it's completely brand new.
Quand on modifie les mécaniques de base dans une suite, ça fait forcément débat. Les premières infos sur le nouveau système de combat, par exemple, laissaient penser qu'il serait plus accessible. Mais est-ce vraiment le cas?
I don't think it's easier, because even KCD1, it's definitely harder than both of those games are definitely harder than most of the really casual experiences from other games. So it is harder. It depends on how you define difficulty, because you're right that it's way easier to fight against many opponents, but it's easier because the controls are less clunky. But this kind of difficulty is not something you want to have in your game. In this regard, it is easier to get into it, it's easier to control the thing, but it's not easier to do the most intricate combos in the game. It's not easier to do, it's actually way harder to do master strikes now than it was in the first game.
In KCD1, you were nobody. We were just telling you, this is the story that happens around you, and if it didn't happen, you will just, live your peaceful life in the village probably, and you would never need to hold a sword, but now you have to. So the combat was difficult because it was difficult for your character, and when you learned combat, it would be a little bit easy, but still quite realistic, because we want to tell you that the world around you is dangerous, that you will die if you will be careless. And for the KCD2, we say you have already something behind you, the KCD1. You have fought in battles, you needed to kill a lot of people to survive. So now you are still not a superhero, but you already have some experience. So we wanted for KCD2 to give you this feeling that it's still a harsh world. You can still die if you tackle too many enemies at once. It shouldn't be easier because the world is the same, but it should be easier to get into.
So the understandable challenge that's clearly communicated to you is actually even a little harder in KCD2 than it was in KCD1. But the approachability of the controls and the systems and the ease of understanding what you're supposed to do is easier in KCD2.
La dimension historique du jeu le rend unique, mais un élément crucial est souvent sous-estimé dans tout ce processus.
My favorite things about working on KCD franchise, it's the research and the way how you learn so much about the history and about the culture. It teaches you how skillful our ancestors were, how many great things they were able to build with much less resources or technology than we have right now. Fortunately, we have some great people in the team who are really passionate about history and came even from backgrounds like restoring historical buildings. So they really knew the physical part of it. So it's not just virtual research. You go into the places, touch the stones, see how things works and how they were built.
We couldn't really say what we are using it for because all of the title, plot, everything was still kept very, very in secret. So I had to base on what we did before, and people were a bit suspicious because why you need right now information about Castle in Trotsky when you've done it about Posazavi. So I had to come up with some additional information why we wanted for comparison studies and blah 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 and extensions and so on. But really we try to keep it very low to not come out too early.
A lot of people have this impression that being historically accurate isn't really important because most people don't know how castles actually look. Most people will not call you on an armor that is not accurate. But what I think, and it's really important and something we learned over the course of the years, is that maybe people don't know what exactly it's supposed to look like, but they can smell bullshit. So if you're claiming you're a historical video game, you have to be true to yourself. Otherwise people will know that it doesn't have the flavor that the historical game, the properly researched historical game will have. Even though there's some limits to what we can do and how far we can go into sort of recreating the world. In the first game, I remember some guy on the forums told us chicken or hens didn't have this color because he was an expert in chicken breeds in 15th century. And this is exactly what I told in the beginning, like no one in the world knows this, only this one person, and almost no one will scrutinize this. But if a lot of these misconceptions amount, even if you don't know, there's gonna be some details or some symbolism that you can pick up and you can be like, oh, it doesn't feel real. So we had chickens, then we have color of carrots was a huge topic, and now we have willows, the trees in the game, which apparently weren't in Europe because someone brought the seedlings sometime later. We always try to position ourselves that we're not a medieval simulator. It still should be entertaining experience. And we say our number one goal is immersion. A lot of the time these go together, immersion and historical accuracy. But sometimes it might put you off. For instance, the way you rode a horse in 15th century was most likely you wouldn't ride with your legs bent. You would kind of ride, can't really show it, but you would put the legs forward, which is very historically accurate, but also it looks ridiculous. And you don't want your people to laugh at the knights. The knights should be like, I'm afraid of these guys. These are respectful. There are certain things that, even though it would be historically accurate, we opted for a more convenient way to display it, because ultimately we don't want to put you out of the world. So these are the things where we try to steer it more into it's immersive. That's the most important thing. And if the history goes against that immersiveness, we sometimes have to do something about it. And technical reasons, there are loads of examples where we have to like sort of cave in. You start with the obvious fact, there are no children in the world. There's not 12 people living in one room. Everything's bigger because it's a video game. So the hallways are bigger because people have to, you know, walk there and back, and the houses are a little bit bigger. And so there's like loads of technical limits.
Dans le premier jeu, Raté était la ville principale. Pour casser des deux, on a visé plus grand, la ville de Kuttenberg, aujourd'hui appelée Kutna-Hora, et on s'en doute, ça n'a pas été simple de l'implémenter.
We started with really gathering not only the sources, but contacting people who dedicate their life to actually study how Kuttenberg looked in previous centuries and all of the work around, so regarding the mining and stuff. We found out that there is like really tons of materials, and exactly, again, some blind spots or like places where it's very difficult to estimate what would be exactly, because you don't have much of the evidence from that exact time. So we had to base on everything that we had a little bit before and a little bit after. For example, then something was like establishing process, or it was like stopped or so. And then we also had to take that in consideration that we already showed something in the KCD1, like some kind of a difference between, you know, very little countryside, villages and stuff, and, for example, Rataj. So now Kuttenberg, which was like second largest and most wealthy, you know, city in the Czech Republic, need to be really in this hierarchy really high. So again, like we had to push it. So we had to do this pimp ups, as I say, to consider, and then of course at all of elements study the things that were in the cities nearby, like also from Prague, like collect that information and follow up people who are actually like, you know, living there.
We have to paint the whole world. This is the problem with us going against actual historians, is that if you're specializing in pottery shards in 15th century Bohemia, you know everything about pottery. You know, we have to know everything about everything. We have to build the world. We can't really leave white spaces. If you are doing academic research, you can say, this thing we don't know. But you can't just, you know, you can't go through a city and suddenly there's a white space instead of a house. That's a bug. It's not us saying, oh, we don't know how this house looked. So for example, in Kuttenberg, on the corner today, the tower with the clock, it's not there, it burned down. We have no idea how it looked like, but we used our educated guesses to reconstruct it, because we can't really say we don't know how the tower looked, because that would look weird if there was no, I mean, like today there's no tower, but if there was sort of like, I don't know, a white cube instead of a tower, with a message like, sorry, but we did our research and we don't know how the tower looked, so instead of that, we'll just admitting it by putting this placeholder here. That wouldn't be really immersive.
One thing is to creating this historical city, which is really great experience on its own, but we still need to make sure it's city which works in the game. We are not creating like this open-air museum or some theme park or something. We are still making the game. So we needed to rethink so many things, even the things how you navigate through the city, where you can go, where you cannot. Some gameplay mechanics like the crime system, the stealth. So for example, if you want to rob someone's house, you need to these escape roads from the houses, and creating the historical city was the first part of the job. The rest of work was to make sure it still looks as we wanted, but at the same time it feels great to just explore it as the player.
Quand le héros est un fils de forgeron, on s'attend forcément à pouvoir incarner un forgeron, ce qui n'était pas possible dans le premier jeu. Il fallait donc impérativement corriger ça dans la suite.
So we always wanted to do that, and in KCD2 we finally had the option and time and resources to really do that. So when that decision was made, we started thinking about how to do that. We researched how swords are made, how they were made in history. We, you know, researched a lot. We talked to many people, and then we were trying to come up with a way how to make this complicated process not too long, because, you know, gameplay-wise it needs to be kinda short, so you will still enjoy doing it, and to feel it as tactile as possible. There was always this design principle in Kingdom Come that everything should feel tactile. That's, by the way, the reason, for example, when you're opening a door, for example, Henry really touches the door. When you're picking up things, Henry really touches the things. We're discussing how to implement some UI to help you with the process, but in the end, we hopefully successfully managed to give you all the information you need just from the minigames. So for example, when you're bashing the sword, the sound of the impact, the sparks, the Henry's whistling, these things are all there to like communicate to you how well you're doing, because we really basically we don't want to show UI unless absolutely necessary. We want you to gain all the information from the game. But back then there was even a discussion whether there should be another part of the minigame where you actually add the crossguard and a pommel to them. But that was really difficult and not really fun to play with. That's not something the blacksmith back there actually did, so there would be only like attaching it to the sword, and that would be kind of different, or it would create like enormous, almost infinite amount of variations. So we scrapped it. But other than that, the minigame always was planned to be like this.
In the end, this comes from it. If you would isolate it, it would be, I would say, pretty weird experience, but within the context of the game, we think it works good.
Les deux jeux Kingdom Come ont des bandes-son exceptionnelles. Deux hommes sont derrière la magie musicale qui donne vie à la bohème de 1403.
It's not just like to create a lot of music, just for clarity, there is over 10 hours of music in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Over 9 hours were composed by me, and the rest was composed by Makari Kanasporka, who focused more on things like, you know, pop music, bath music, and that kind of stuff. And yeah, he has one particular very good banger from a pub, kind of a pub song, and also music for fist fights. So that's like for him. And I've done the rest, which is like, you know, the symphony orchestra stuff. You would say like the big stuff. That's one thing. There is like over 10 hours of music in the game, and it's 400 tracks, 400 compositions. So that's a lot, you know, compared to like what would be like normally like 50, 60 cues in the film, maybe 70. If there is one thing which rules the music for me in KCD2, it's the overall tone of the story and our main character, Henry. In Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, it's like a boy becoming a man. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it's like a man becoming a hero.
Not a hero.
He can also be a bad person, but still somebody who matters, you know, whose action matters, you know, somebody who can really decide and he can stand for himself and for the others. And that's a huge step in his life, and that's a huge step in the story, which changes the tone, particularly in the Gutenberg part of the story, but it already starts at the Drosecko part. It's also about the problems our characters are solving, you know, like what are we talking about now? It's not anymore like a, you know, small quarrel of some local landlords or something. It's much bigger than that, you know, you actually become a part of really historic events, you know, you are changing the course of things for kings and maybe emperors and whole countries. Same as KCD2, overall, the KCD2 music should be bigger, better, and more mature. And that's maybe the more mature, it's the most important word to say. It wouldn't work with this new Henry, with this new big story, with this, you know, new epicness of it all. And second, I would say it would be like cheating with players. It's a new game, there are so many new characters, so many new things, you know, so many new features, so it deserves a brand new music. With one, maybe two exceptions, there is no single music which we would use, like we would take the same music from Kingdom Come 1 and we would use it again. So like out of those 400 tracks, like 398-ish of them are like brand new. And yeah, one of the cool things which we had and which I really enjoyed and which surprised me, because I didn't expect how much of a change that's gonna be, was that we had a live choir. We had 40 singers, like a huge one, and all of them were amazing. It was when they started, that was a moment, you know, and I didn't expect that. I mean, like, I didn't, how did they say it? I didn't see it coming. That's the thing, you know. You just give them the sign and it started, all of them. And we did this in the Dvořákovo Rolfinum, which is still my all favorite room for music. That was a great thing. And since I knew I'm gonna have choir, dared to use Latin words, Latin lyrics, coming from Requiem. And I've used various parts of the Requiem. So there is a Recordare, there is Agnus Dei. It's like 7, maybe 8 of them. There is Dies Irae, for instance, as well. If you recognize what the choir is singing, and if you are familiar with what the Latin words mean, or if you find it out, if you look it up, you will see what I meant with using this part of the Requiem lyrics in this particular scene, in this particular moment of the story.
Mais le son, ce n'est pas que de la musique, c'est tout le design sonore qui rend l'expérience crédible.
We recorded the ambient sounds for our beautiful outdoor locations. For example, if you're in forest, it can sound like this. Nice, quiet atmosphere. Not much stuff going on here, but it's very peaceful. And then you go deeper in the forest. So now the ambience changed to more deeper forest where more songs are singing. The rain can start. Over this sound, other rain sound plays over. So you hear like the drops hitting branches and leaves. And then maybe it stops raining. And for a bit you can hear like the sustain of the rain inside the forest. So even this atmosphere slightly goes away and goes back to normal. Instead of just crossfading through rain and forest sound, we have these really cool transitions which should be immersive, really immersive for the players. We recorded all the ambiences in 4 channels rather than just stereo sound, which would be like fixed left and right. Yeah. Instead, the whole ambience rotates and moves around the player as you move around as well. Okay. So it feels more alive.
Certains sons sont captés dans la réalité, quand d'autres sont purement artificiels, créés par les ingénieurs du son de l'équipe.
And the second thing is that the videos you see here might not be the latest ones, so they are just for the working purposes. So.
And not only plate armor, we can also modulate different sounds. For example, chain armor. Of course, these sounds would need further editing, but as a synchronous recording, it works pretty well. Of course, these sounds are made quiet in the final mix. And of course, they are present in gameplay also. One of the main purposes of this is to make the immersion as real as possible.
I had to record underwater fart. I used some bucket filled with water, and I just used empty ketchup bottle, and I made it like this. It was nice. And I just wish I could do more sounds like this, but well, it's just what you can hear is most of the time what the sound is. So, for instance, there is a lot of throwing up in the game, farting, throwing up, all sorts of sounds like this. And for throwing up, it's really hard to do the sound. So basically, the best way was just recording that thing.
So you get drunk with the team, and then you record the sound.
Yeah, maybe add some layers of the material falling to some ground, and you're there.
It requires a lot of beers, but...
Well, the drinking is the easiest part in this.
Yeah, so the sound guys did a great job regarding the Foley's. They were creating most of the Foley's by themselves, But we were also recording like the crowd sounds, which in the practice means that we went to this beautiful park in Prague with a group of, I don't know, 20, 30 people, and then we're like shouting, laughing, talking. They are fighting together, and it was really cool, and it kind of helps to feel the crowds behind or like the life outside of the frame, right? So the sound part of the cutscenes are being sometimes overlooked, but like I really enjoyed it and I love it.
Here we have the trebuchet sound, starting with wooden layers. So there are quite a lot of them, so there is a different wooden layer here. The big wooden construction and the ropes have to creak a lot. Then we needed to add some airy sounds, some whooshes and flying of the projectile. So the blue regions sound like this. And then there are different kinds of impacts and booms and explosions. So let's break them down a little. So here is the first explosion, the stony one, followed by more of the wooden impacts, followed by some falling debris. Of course, a lot of different objects falling down from the tower. For the falling bridge, there is this dedicated cluster of sounds, sounding like this. And let's finish this with the complete design.
Impossible de parler du développement sans mentionner les animateurs. Ici, chaque mouvement, marcher, se battre, attraper une chopine de bière, est soit animé à la main, soit via motion capture, la capture des mouvements.
So usually it begins in the head of a designer who comes with the idea either for like a gameplay mechanic or something that helps them tell the story. And then they talk to animator and technical animator. So we help them also talk through it from like our perspective, like what would look good, how it would work. We also incorporate scripters who are kind of like technical designers in here. And we talk about how we can connect this in the engine, how it's gonna work, so we don't just record something and then process it and then throw it away because it doesn't work. It's an extremely long process. Our pipeline has 17 steps.
And there's also one instance which was like improvised and prepared in the same time. As I said, the stunts are recorded with stuntsmen, right? But for some reason, and I don't know how that happened, but we decided that Luke Dale, the actor that plays Capon, should do his own stunt by himself. So, and it's the scene from the beginning of the game when he's ambushed by this bandit in this shack of Bojana, the herbalist, right? So basically we've got him, we got the stuntman, and Dan told him like, you should grab him like this and do this, and then like roll over and do this and that. So he goes with the stuntman, do this choreography together, managed to work it out in like half an hour. And we shoot it, and it was like a one-shot scene, right? So it wasn't possible to cut in the middle. So basically in like a half an hour, maybe like 1 hour, they managed to do everything and prepare everything. And in the result, like Luke was doing also his own stunts. And in the end, it looks like quite cool. And even like it got some of his charm in the scene as well.
En parlant de motion capture, les cinématiques sont un monde à part. Les acteurs rejouent toutes les scènes et ce processus demande bien plus de travail qu'on ne le pense.
Some of the scenes are written by me, most of them are written by some other people. I read all of them and rewrite them very often. Then we kind of brainstorm how the final scenes and dialogues will look.
After we got a script, sometimes kind of like adjusting the script to our kind of working with the cutscene, to our cinematography. So there are some like slight rewrites here and there, but not so much. Basically, the process is the same as in every animated movie, right? We have some pre-production, some previews.
Then we sit together and look at the storyboards and think about how it's done, and we change a lot of things. Then we do animatic, which is basically animated storyboard, which already has some almost final length. So Jan Valta can start to prepare music for that scene.
This is like approved by the designers and the creative directors, so it's that everybody's on the same page. After that, we have to prepare the shooting itself, which means like doing the shot plan.
Then we create here in this place the fake environment, which basically is made out of some tubes and marks on the ground and stuff where everything is, which is very technical, and that's the reason why we have two directors. I am responsible for the acting, and Petr Pekař is responsible for everything else, where people should stand and how should they move, and in order for it to work.
It's actually quite straightforward. We've got this head camera rig on your head with some stuff that holds the camera in front of actor's face, and it's recording the performance. So we've got really detailed video recording of actor's performance on set. This is tracked in some software, and then it's later translated to the rig, and after that we are just polishing the expressions and making them like much more fluent. It's also a possibility to change the performance a bit, add some subtleness into the performance that wasn't done before, change the expressions a bit, so we've got like much better basis for this work later in the post-production.
The stuff I saw early on was like really funny. Those weird like astronaut face things that we had that were like, so they weren't fully executed at all, and it was really, really kind of basic. So you got a better sense of the landscape, but performance-wise you got nothing because it was these kind of real-time recorded stuff from the headcams.
In the first game, all facial animations were animated manually. So basically our animators were recreating the performance based on the references from video cameras from the set, which is like painfully long and tedious, and the result was great for the time that we had and for the technology we had, but still wasn't so naturalistic as we would like to. The shooting itself consists of professional English actors because the cutscenes are recorded in English.
When you get to voiceover, it's kind of impossible as the actor to have a handle on everything that's happening in the kind of million iterations of the game, and certainly the million iterations of the choices Henry can make. On any given day when you're bouncing around between scenes and quests and scenarios, you can't keep a handle on that. So you sort of have to hand over your brain and your heart and your head to the person that's directing you. For me, that also applied to the motion capture scenes because they weren't shot chronologically. It's still such a big animal that you can't do that. So there's something quite freeing about going, especially with Dan, just going, right, you're the boss, you know how this works, you know what you want it to be. I don't. We have like really raw animatics to work from, but there's nothing like really fully executed for us to imagine. So you just have to hand it over to them and trust them. And there's fortunately a huge amount of trust.
For most of the time, we record as much as 1,000 lines per session. One session is 4 hours long. We've developed our own system of recording and delivering those lines to the game, because in the game we have 260,000 lines, and we had to get rid of the manual, tidy work.
It's very different from a film. A film you work on for 2 months or whatever if you're lucky, and kind of similar with TV. And then that's it, and you kind of wrap it up and go, right, I can move on. And it was all kind of in this box, and you go, right, that's tied up. But with this, you keep coming back for years, and you have to rely on the team to tell you where you are, what are the circumstances, what are the stakes. And of course, they're working on it every day. We're not. So they're brilliant at just putting you in that headspace and letting you get on with it.
So we've got English actors, Czech actors that are helping us with non-speaking characters and stuntmen, and sometimes like we as cinematics are recording some things by ourselves as well. Where there are like two armies clashing together, we couldn't record it in one go, so we have to separate it to like segments and small skirmishes and then putting it all together. So we are putting this all together, recording it, and then editing it. That means choosing the correct animations, designing the cameras, designing the camera movements, creating the editing, cinematic lighting and particles, effects, etc., etc.
And then there's a lot of sessions where we go through it and kind of decide how it should look. So, for example, they show me some initial version, and then I ask them to do some different lighting and move the camera differently than it was originally planned in the storyboard and stuff like that.
This is one of the things that we actually weren't doing so much in the first one because we didn't have time for that. There were like lots of miscommunications there, and some of the scenes has to be reshot because we didn't kind of understand each other regarding the concept of the scene, right? In the second one, we strictly did concept and previous for every cutscene, so everybody's like, yeah, this is it, this is the scene, this is the music, this is the editing, this is the pacing, this is the mood, this is the atmosphere. We had 2 sound designers just for the cutscenes, and they are doing nothing else than just doing sound effects for the cutscenes. This is something that I'm really proud of, and I wasn't doing it myself, it was our sound team. But they really managed to do a great job. At the beginning, we sat and when we said how do we want to approach the cutscenes regarding the atmosphere and effects and realism/realization, we were on the same page, so we started doing it, and after that they created just this like beautiful living layers of sounds, natural sound, atmospheric sounds, but still with like this nice amount of cinematic effects that makes the cutscenes sound interesting but still realistic.
It's like 8 to 10 hours of recording, and we create 5 minutes of actual cutscene. We did last motion capture session, I don't know, 2 years ago, and then we were working on finishing the cutscenes for 2 years almost.
Generally, we were just like pushing through and recording cutscene after cutscene for like almost 80 shooting days.
80 days?
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's a lot. And how many hours of cutscenes are there in the game, roughly?
Roughly 5 hours and 1 minute. We are in the actual mocap stage that we are using for not just the cutscenes, but for every animations that are being used in the game. There is like multiple cameras that are here on these rigs, and they are used for the motion capture. Basically, when actor is having the markers that we can see over there, they are being reflected back to the cameras, and then thanks to this like triangulation and comparison, the system can know where the markers is in the 3D space. Then it's like connected together to this skeleton, and based on the differences how the joints move and the bones move, we can translate it to the actual movement. We are starting and ending the shot with the T-pose. It's like a clear visual cue for the editor where the recording starts and when it ends, right? So if we are, for example, doing a scene and we have to redo it again and not stopping the cameras, we are doing the T-pose again, so we can clearly see that somebody is stopping the shot and recording again. When we are doing this, all the markers are clearly visible from the cameras. So that's why it's T-pose and not like I-pose or Y-pose or anything. Yeah. So it's like a reset pose, exactly. The way how the horse works is that we are basically using just the top half of the body, the hand movements and the gestures and the performance, not using the lower half of the body because it's being used for like to be in sync with the horse. When we are recording the horse movement, we are using stand-ins to help with the eyeline. So for example, the horse is passing by something, the actor is starting, and we have to play as if he's passing somebody, so he's watching somebody coming against him, so he can like look for him as well, and then like you've got like this connection like that. Of course, we've got like tons of weapons here. So we've got like 2 types of swords. This is a short sword. You can see the markers on it as well because we need to see where it is in the 3D space as well. Then we've got a 2-handed sword, which looks like this. Yeah. It's in different stages of wariness, I would say, depending of how much did we used to. It was actually a crossbow with a crossguard here, but I believe actually we managed to destroy it during one of the shootings, so we've got just like a torso of it. This is the crossbow as well, yeah. We've got various pictures like this, pictures or tank cards, depending on what do we want to use. This could be like an apple or a pouch or whatever you need, or a grenade, I don't know. The acting in mocap requires quite a lot of imagination, right? Because you just have this set and nothing else, and some props and construction that the actor has to imagine how it will look in the final product. If we can help them concrete, more precise the prop, it helps them at least like that. But generally, as long as the dimensions are okay and the weight is okay and they are handling the prop as they should, so it's more like having the correct reference for the handling and for the manipulation. At the beginning, during the first KCD, they tried to use actual weapons for the combat, right? Which, as you said, helps with the weight and with the field. I was told that the weight is quite similar. The feel from it is a bit different. The center of mass is a bit different. There was idea to use real weapons at the beginning, but the thing is that when you are using real weapons, the stuntmen are much more careful. They are kind of holding back not to injure each other. There was decision to use these fake props, so they are not holding back so much. But in cutscenes, sometimes we were telling the actors to play as it is much heavier than it actually is. The matrices are mostly for fallings, right? For the combat, or we recorded some fallings from like 2 meters height. We recorded some bigger falls, some smaller falls, but also this is mostly like for falling down from standing. There is this scene when Hans and Henry is walking through the water at the beginning on the lake, right? So to kind of have this like heavy movement in the water and in the mud and everything, we use the rope as well to kind of drag them back, so they are moving a bit more heavily and it looks a bit like more natural with that. We are recording the voiceovers and the performance as well, and we have to do some like electronic clap, something that helps us to synchronize this all data together. And for this, whenever you start recording, this really loud and annoying beeping sounds to kind of announce that the recording started. It's really annoying. Everybody hates it, but it's really necessary because without that, we would like just synchronize it manually. On your marks? We've got, I think, 6 head-mounted camera rigs. They are custom made. That means that one guy from Warhorse actually printed it from the 3D printer. There is like series of stripes and screws that helps to kind of fit it to anybody's head, right? These are the lights, because you have to have the clearest video that you can have on the face, right? So there is not like some parasite shadows or anything, and this is like really clear contrast recording of that. On the back of the head, there is this like a box, and it contains the microport with microphone and the light and the camera and everything. We could always bought it by some external company, but it was like 10, maybe 50 times more expensive than doing it just by ourselves.
Bien, on a eu ensemble un petit aperçu derrière le rideau, de quoi vous donner quelques exemples illustrant comment le développement d'un tel jeu prend forme. Mais nous devons avancer, car le 3 février, un jour seulement avant que vous ne puissiez jouer pour la première fois, le studio Warhorse se préparait quant à lui à célébrer.
We have this thing in the studio that we do the release party the night before the release of the game. The reason is simple, so that we, no matter what, have a great party, no matter if the scores are good or bad. So just like this is the end in a way. However, this time around, I messed up somehow and put the embargo time, because this time we sent the review code a month before release. Now the day one patch is a week before day one, so everything is moved forward, same as the embargo, which is now on 5 p.m. the day when the time when the party starts, so everyone will know by the time they arrive. But again, positively nervous, should be fine, and at 5 p.m. everyone in the studios, hopefully in their Uber or cars or on the metro or whatever, on the phone, but going to the release party, because I think that's they deserve it, and they did an awesome hell of a job that now culminates in this huge party.
So we are here today at KCD's 2 release party, and I think everyone has a reason to celebrate. The reviews are in, and we're just trying to find some people to talk to get their reaction to the reviews. Did you see the reviews?
No, not yet.
You haven't?
No.
Yes. Let me show you something.
Oh god, here we go. This is going to be my first review.
No. Does this mean you're happy?
I've not seen reviews that high for any game in such a long time. Oh my god! Oh my god! This is like an aggregate that kind of... Wow.
Basically, that's the average from the reviewers at the moment.
Oh my god. How many reviews are out?
Like 20-ish per platform, so I guess I'd say it's like 50 outlets maybe that are here.
Jesus Christ, be praised.
Yeah.
Audentes fortuna juvat.
So I think you have a party to enjoy today.
Well, I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna go get pissed.
Feeling is 9 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10, I would say.
Enjoying the party, getting absolutely hammered?
No, I wouldn't do such a thing. After 7 years of hard work and labor, I will totally be at home by 10 p.m. and, you know, ready. And tomorrow I'll definitely be at work. Don't expect me tomorrow.
Those are amazing numbers. I sort of feel like I need somebody to fully debrief me on that, but that is like...
Basically, that's amazing.
Yeah, it looks amazing, but I'm sort of hoping that it is amazing.
Generally, like most reviews are very, very high. There's scarcely anything that's lower.
Amazing.
So there's a consensus that you basically made a great game.
Oh, well, I certainly hope so. I mean, there's a lot of people in this room tonight who you'll see who have put a lot of work in to make that happen. So it's very much a team effort. It's really funny because we were talking earlier about what a massive kind of... You know, it's been a huge amount of time, it's a huge amount of people, and it all kind of is like rests on what you just showed me on your screen, which is a shame in some ways because actually even if the reviews weren't great, I would still be incredibly proud of it. But it definitely helps that the reviews are good, and hopefully it means the game will have a bigger audience, and you know, people will engage with it more. So that is a good result.
Okay, this is nice. This is really nice. God damn. Yeah, I'm just trying to comprehend this because this level is like 87 into 92 on PS5. This is really great. Nice. Wow. This is really cool. Okay, I think this is time for a drink.
89, 87, 93. Great. Yeah, we had a conversation this morning, right? And I was saying 87. So 89, 87, 93, it's beyond my expectations.
Did you see the reviews, obviously?
I did. Some of them that were released already, I did. And it's looking really good.
Did you see the average?
I think the average on OpenCritic was 91 and on Metacritic it was like 89 or something. PC is 90. That's, oh man, just... So yeah, it's looking great. If you know Warhorse guys, it's always happy party no matter what we are celebrating, but this one is going to be awesome.
All of that doesn't mean a huge amount until it's in the lap of the individual and they're having their own journey and they're making their own choices. So I just hope that we've delivered what they expect on that front. I certainly think we have total faith in the people in this building. But yeah, it belongs to them now. And all the rest of the noise doesn't really matter. It's just in their hands and we just hope they enjoy it.
Yeah, it's almost like it takes on its own life and becomes something else when it's handed over. But I would just say, I really hope it exceeds or lives up to the expectation. I know that people are really excited, so I just hope that they love it as much as they hope they will, and I think they will.
L'histoire de Kingdom Come ne serait rien sans sa communauté, et on a trouvé la personne parfaite pour en parler. C'est un jeune streamer, prodige de Twitch et de YouTube. À mi-temps, il est handicapon, et à plein temps, c'est un être humain au cœur pur.
Since the second game was announced, I noticed this incredible enthusiasm for the game, and it's always been there, but it was really ramped up when the second game was announced, and I really wanted to make sure that I could engage with people and It's so much fun. Like the subreddit is, like, it honestly makes me belly laugh on a daily basis. And so because of that, I keep doing it. I feel like some gaming communities get a bad rap and some people can be quite toxic, but I don't find that with this community. And people are just effusively positive towards me. And often they can't believe that I'm replying to them, and I'm like, I'm just a dude, I'm just a guy, and I'm as enthusiastic about this game as you are. I've always maintained that it attracts a certain type of person, a certain clientele. They're usually quite studious, they're usually very excited about history, and they love the realism aspect of the game. Often they're quite nerdy, which I love. I'm a nerd, so we go hand in hand. I used to collect Warhammer figurines and paint them. So yeah, absolute guilty nerd here. And yeah, and they're always just so lovely. They're always just so happy to. They're also very funny. They're funny people. They've got a great sense of humor, and they're really good. They're really hot on their memes, which I love. I find meeting fans in person kind of surreal, because most of my fan engagement is done online, and then when it happens in real life, it's sort of jarring that someone actually cares that much about a performance I gave. You know, I got off the train recently in Copenhagen, and a guy came up to me and was like, "Are you Luke Dale? Are you Hans Cable?" And I was like, I just couldn't kind of believe it. And with fan signings, I did have a taster of it when we had the concert like a year ago, maybe a year and a half. And it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, where I had people coming up to, it was me, Dan, and Jan Volter, and I think Michael Piffin as well. It's like this endless train of fans. It just seemed to go on forever, and my hand was hurting by the end signing everything. But I really like it, because it's these people that show up to events like that are the die-hardest fans. They're the people that this game may have changed their life. This game may have been a route of escapism during a dark time in their life. This game might have taught them things. It just clearly means so much. So to be able to be there and sign something for them, which means so much to them, it really does feel good.
Le casting de Kingdom Come est très proche des fans, mais ce gars-là, c'est clairement l'amuseur officiel du groupe.
There was one online that I found hilarious, where a guy put on a Facebook post, if this post it was in the Kingdom Come group, he said, if this post gets 100 likes, I will name my firstborn son Kunesh. And of course, I've held him to it, because that post got thousands of likes. So of course, I give him a call every now and again, and I'm like, have you met the one yet? Have you met the girl of your dreams? Are you having a child? Is it a boy? Okay, I'm coming to the hospital, because you're going to name it Kunesh. Okay? He thinks I'm joking. I am not joking. It's happening. So that's one of my favorites. I don't know what was going through his head. Also, low threshold, 100 likes? Are you kidding me? You should know the Kingdom Come community better than that. I'm going to be there at the birth of the child, watching him as he signs that birth certificate. Absolutely.
Ok, monsieur le rigolo, on a compris. On passe à la... ça continue encore?
Yeah, so there's this one interaction with a fan where a guy posted on Twitter to Warhorse asking for help, because he was like, oh, so frustrating, Warhorse. You know, there's this glitch in the game where Hans Capon follows me around throughout the game. Everywhere I go, it's so annoying. Everywhere I go, he's there. I turn around, he's there. And then I saw this, and I just wrote on his post, "Hi, Henry." And I was like, he can't even escape me in real life. It's just perfect.
Pour faire plaisir à la communauté, Warhorse a même imaginé une mini-série en live action avec Henry et Hans, enfin avec Tom et Luc.
We said to each other that we have these two guys people love, Tom and Luke. They look exactly the same as their in-game characters. They have such a great body chemistry, so let's make them the main anchorman of this video series. And let's do it scripted, so there's some funny bits of dialogue, and they do a bit of a role play when they see the dialogues in the live action. It's like Hans and Henry would be in 2024 and 5. So So that was the fun element of it. Of course, there's like a lot of extra work of writing the stuff and editing it, but I think it was worth it, seeing the response from the community. So we sort of twisted it into a little bit of entertainment series. So we called it infotainment internally.
We have an amazing community, as we've talked about a lot, but we talk about it a lot because we mean it. And they're incredible. And it was a very small group of people in the first instance, but that body of people has grown. And that's for me, that's unlike any of the other work I do. The other work is kind of handled by a few reviewers, and audience feedback isn't so much part of the conversation. Whereas in this arena, it really is. And I think that's an amazing thing. It's really shaped the kind of path that the game has taken. For me, that was a real education and a really exciting one.
I was definitely surprised by the reception, and I think the whole industry was, the video game industry at large. A lot of the reviewers and the people that are commentators on this industry were like, I didn't know how big of a community this was, and they were shocked, and then that made them actually look into the game more, because they were like, I had no idea this was such a big deal, because it's quite, 6 years on. You can't. A lot of people have maybe forgotten about it, but then as soon as it was announced, people went, "Okay, wow, this is big."
I think it's also to some extent the size, but to a greater extent the kind of energy and passion of those people can maybe make it feel like a bigger community than it is. Because I think friends of mine who are much more immersed in the gaming community have really commented on that like raw passion that we have behind us. So it might not even be as big a body of people as it seems, but just this like wave of energy that kind of pushes us forwards is, to my understanding, like really unusual and very welcome on our part.
Yeah. I went to a restaurant yesterday and ordered some food, and as I looked up and spoke to the waiter, he was like, oh my God. And he couldn't speak. And I was like, this is crazy. But that kind of thing really only happens in Prague for me. Tom, I don't know about you.
Well, it sort of came in two waves. So there was a big wave when the first game came out, and then like a big patch of nothing in the middle of where, people's attention was elsewhere. And then it started to bubble up again, really from the announcement video. And I think that also made people more aware that actually these characters were based on real faces, and that obviously they used our voices. So I think whenever I've had those interactions, which are like lovely and very welcome, usually people are really confused because often they didn't know that actually it was based on a real person. So they're really baffled, and it's like they've entered some alternate reality, and there's been a big skip in the records. But people are always lovely, which is, very much appreciated.
Le jour de la sortie est plutôt spécial, mais pas comme on l'imagine. L'équipe arrive tard au bureau, après la fête, et aujourd'hui, pas de stress, pas de bug de dernière minute, car en réalité, tout cela a été anticipé bien avant.
It's quiet here today, suspiciously quiet. That's also a sign of the fact that I believe that we prepared for the release really in a professional manner.
So right now we're in the last stretches. So we have trailers lined up. We have this live action scenes going on with Tom and Luke. We wanted this time to involve them, incorporate them even more in the marketing, which is kind of interesting because in the first game, or generally the first game, was new to everyone. So not many people knew what to expect from that kind of product, and it was hard to compare to anything. And the same went for the actors, which did a job for a team from who knows where, doing a game about who knows what. So they were like a little bit, not hesitant, but like, yeah, you do yours, we do ours. But of course, with the success and everything, seeing that there's a market, that there's a growing, ginormous community, it was natural for them that they wanted to be way more involved this time. Luke does this really well. Props to you, Luke. This goes out for you. But so he's very, very active in the community. The people love him. Tom McKay is more of a gentleman, let's say, like a pro actor with his agents and everything, and his big Hollywood production and whatnot. So he's a little bit more reserved, but still he's out there.
He's enjoying it.
Oh yeah, he's enjoying it. He's out there. He's slowly but steadily getting introduced to the terrible world of social media. So yeah.
We have seen the reviews, and I'm really, really happy about them, and I think that's great. And that's like we cleared the first hurdle, and now comes for this like final test. Yeah, final boss battle, exactly. And we will press the button today, and then we'll see how it goes. And I really hope it will go well, and so far it looks like it should, and it could.
Basically, from the player's perspective, everything is frozen. We can't really change anything that the players will perceive, like long before the release. It's different from project to project, to the size of the project, to some processes, but it can be like even like a month or two before the release, everything the players see is actually frozen. But if there is something really terrible, something like crashes caused by some specific hardware, these things are still being fixed. So these are the things that are still being fixed. And then something regarding like the release processes, for example, what do you see, in the shop or achievements or something like that. Some of these things still can be changed, but basically from players' perspective, the game is frozen like a month or two before release. But from the reviewers, there are only like little things that we usually decided not to implement yet, because those little improvements could actually, cause much more serious issues, and we are very cautious. We really, we have experience from KCD1, so we really want KCD2 release to be as smooth as possible. So we really don't want to introduce some new issues or some bugs.
It's a never-ending process. So as we speak now, that part of the team is still fixing bugs, because there will always be some bugs to fix. And the other part of the team is working on the DLCs. There is no rush nowadays, as it was a few months ago, but yeah, it's like I said, it's a never-ending process.
In all honesty, I'm positively nervous. So of course I know my people and I know my press and whatnot. They're not being influenced at all.
Right.
Of course not, right? However, I'm of course like in direct contact, like, hey, Mr. Regular Joe, can you tell me like, what do you think? How did you like this part or that part? Have you met this thing? What's your first impression? Let me know. And of course, 99% tell me nothing. They just say, you know what, you have a hit there on your hand, and expect something great, which, well, it eases my attention a tiny little bit, but still you never know, right? What does it mean you have a hit? They're all pretty much solid in what they say. They like the product, so I'm right now eagerly awaiting what the professionals say. But I'm even more, and that is where what is even more important probably, that it is what it is. The people, the gamers, what they say once the game hits the shelf, 4th of February, right? I can promise you that that day everyone or no one will work, and everyone will be nose into the screens and looking for the reviews and the let's plays and everything. So the hype is real, and the expectations are huge. And as I said, positively nervous.
Now the first reviews are out and they're amazing. I hope the reviews were good. I was sure that the game is good, but you never know with reviewers, and you never know. It's always, there is an element of chance and luck. So far the reviews are much better than I dared to hope. But then again, I am not in charge of hoping at Warhorse. That's Dan's job. If I may pull the curtain a little bit, the process of releasing a game is not as simple as just uploading a build to Steam and pressing a button. There is a review process, more or less rigorous on different platforms, and you really need to have a build that's really stable and performs well in these areas which are going to be tested. But every time you fix a bug, you roll a 20-sided dice, and if it lands on one, then you have introduced a new bug. And this new bug can be quite subtle and even more pernicious than the one that you have fixed. You might not be able to spot it immediately, but then the certification process will fail because of that. We have a release branch, which is the one that we are going to release today. That's the one that went through the certification process, or review process. And then we have another branch which contains many more fixes, because we have fixed many more bugs than we were able to push into this release version. So it might well happen that players will report to us a bug that was already fixed. It's internally fixed, but it's not on a public build yet. So our first task is to get this more polished version to the players as soon as we can, as a kind of patch, and we just need to see if there are some new bugs which we were not aware of. So this is what we are going to be doing in the next week. We are going to analyzing the bugs, see what is the best way how to fix them, how soon can we get that fix to the players. What's not going to happen is that everybody takes rest of the week off and just browse the website about buying champagne.
Wow. Až to jako potom nějaký if teda. Tak tam ty... Hi Ronald, welcome back.
Okay. Martin, Lena just reminded us something that whoever presses the button needs to confirm with their email and the two-factor authentication. So
yeah, I am ready.
In case it's going to be
I am ready
already.
For that. Yeah, I am.
Perfect. Nice. All right. So 3 minutes to go. Perfect.
Are we in a hurry to press it? I mean, if we don't press it, yeah, why not to wait? But I think everybody who wanted to be on the call is on the call, and everybody who wanted to be in this room. Can you make more space? We have some people still on the corridor. Well, maybe Ronald or Martin, can you explain it again for the rest of the people why we are releasing it a little bit sooner?
Sure. Or Martin, but typically we want to go through the main game and then through the back catalog as well, and along the way hopefully we don't find any gremlins in the system, but Steam sometimes shows some errors here and there, so we do this a little bit and also so that it starts to populate through the system, and hopefully F5 Valve is there to pick up things if something went wrong, but I think it looks good for us.
Yeah, actually it's not just pressing one button. We will have to. We will be pressing buttons simultaneously. Martin, we will also need to release the DLCs and soundtrack and other elements. Press the button. Okay, so let's do it, guys.
Okay.
And here we go.
Beaucoup de temps a passé depuis. Le jeu est désormais acclamé par la critique et adoré par les joueurs. KCD2 a 93% d'avis positifs sur Steam. Il y a même un premier DLC qui vient de sortir, Brushes with Death, et pendant le tournage, l'équipe restait assez discrète sur son contenu. On ajoute que réaliser ce documentaire s'est avéré plus long que prévu, mais on peut quand même vous parler de ce qui n'a pas été intégré dans le jeu.
We did cut things, and I will talk about one soon, but we did cut very soon. There was never a feature that were like almost implemented, but we had to cut it like 3 months before release. No, we really did cut. We cut quite a lot of things, but I feel like it shows the growth of the studio. We were able to plan better, we were able to manage the work better, so we didn't, have these really stressful situations that we had to like cut something that many people worked on for so many. And one feature that was kind of cool, but was just really, really complicated, was a BART minigame, actually. There was this idea that you could solve many things via basically talking or almost singing. There were many ideas how the gameplay would look like, from like the basic ones where you would just choose correct answers and you would have the answers presented based on what you did previously in the game. For example, if you lived through some important thing, it would give you, for example, heroic answers in any future BART interactions. Another idea was that it would be similar to a card game, that you would, boost your presentation in some way. But it was really difficult to make. It would be really difficult, not only for the design and programmers and scripters, but also for voiceovers. For it to feel like natural, you would have to do, because we wanted this to be, for the player to be able to do that almost anywhere. That means that all the voices we have would have to record all the reactions and all the connections to everything. And on the other hand, it felt like it would be cool to try once or twice, but maybe not the best thing to do like continuously. So it was cut pretty early in the development.
Lors de notre visite au studio, on a décortiqué l'une des scènes les plus brillantes de KCD2. On était là quand l'équipe a montré la version finale à Tom et Luc pour la première fois. Attention, petit spoiler, si vous avez passé le mariage et ses conséquences immédiates, vous pouvez continuer à regarder.
The beginning of the game was there for two reasons. One is that we immediately want to present the game like a big step up from the first game, so we wanted to show something grandiose at the beginning. That's one reason. The second reason is there's no Henry in that cutscene, so we really wanted the players to think about why is there no Henry? Will something happens in the game? So we really wanted to really give you this uneasiness of fuck, Henry might die or something might happen to Henry. So we wanted to have that. At this stage in the story, you know that we are not afraid to hurt characters quite a lot. So we hope that you might think, okay, maybe he might die and I'm on a different version of the game, or even if he didn't die, he might be seriously injured. We still wanted for you to feel like the stakes are high.
I'm still unsure whether people will accept it for it being a little bit like it's completely different from the rest of the game. Like suddenly you're somewhere and all the rules are different and stuff like that. We like to do these things to kind of throw you off balance, but most historical novels or those that I like kind of go with this idea that this is a very unpredictable time. Anything can happen. So even you know that Hans Capen probably will be alive because you played the prologue, you don't know how he will end up there. So this uncertainty, I think it's part of the thing that people like about historical novels and movies. For a long time, nothing is happening, and then things start to happen, and anything can happen. And especially in the war times, people change, sides, and it's all very unpredictable. So I think because we built this, it helps you with okay, so I know Hans Capen will be alive and Henry will be alive, but now this guy arrived and there seems to be a lot of agenda on the table and how the tables will turn, what he will tell us. People say you know the ending. You don't know the ending. You know a bit of the ending, but you don't know the whole story. So I think it's actually not very harmful to tell certain parts of the future to the player.
Jesus. You're only supposed to deliver a message to Trotsky.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
It will have to be diluted.
I haven't seen any of this.
I haven't either.
His fever is getting worse.
I always find they're so good with pace.
If this doesn't work, I don't think he'll last long.
Oh, it's that music.
Our general approach to this scene was the people that play the game know that the Hans isn't executed by the end. It's saved in the last moments of his execution, right? But our approach to the scene when we were preparing it and when we were going to it with Luke and with Tom was imagine that it's going all the way through. Imagine that he's really going to get executed, because in your heads he is really going to get executed. He's getting prepared to being killed in a few minutes. It seems like not much, but when you see Luke sitting in the dungeon, just contemplating and looking like on the ground, being scared. It was like really natural. This like subtle performance when you can really see the horror in his eyes and the despair that he has when he's going to the pillory and looking at the noose that is waiting for him, and Henry like desperately trying to save him at the last moment, and his like voice is cracking when he's shouting. I believed it on the set. This is what makes the performance great, and this is probably one of the most emotional scenes that we recorded here.
Seize them immediately! You can't do this! I'm a nobleman, do you hear? A noble! Get your hands off me! You can't do this!
Oh, Warhorse, you bastards.
Yes!
My lord.
The biggest thing is, I mean, there's so many amazing elements that kind of make that what it is, but the music really, amongst all the other things, just absolutely lifts it, and that's one of the main differences, I would say, from the day that you shoot it, where I definitely remember doing that scene with you, and I remember it being, because we know each other so well and we've worked together for such a long time, you kind of get a lot of that for free in terms of imagining your best friend about to be hung, you know. So that was sort of the easy bit, ironically, wasn't it?
It was.
But the logistics are just really simple. You know, it's literally, I think you were stood on a chair, and like there was more people in the motion capture stage than there would ordinarily have been. Because you don't have all those elements, all you can do is like go from the gut and give it everything you have, which I know we both did. But it really does elevate it. I mean, that is like incredibly moving. And Jan's music, it blows my mind. We had the pleasure of hearing him play it live in Rudolfinum.
Yeah.
And it takes it from being like hopefully good and very good to like really spectacular. So I salute him for that.
This is one of the scenes I've been talking about because it has Latin lyrics in music. And this time it's recordare. If you look at the original Latin recordare, Jesu pie quod sum causa, I can't remember it now. That's a bit pity. I should. But yeah, if I look up what it actually means, it's more like, you know, it says, you know, in the day when I die, remember me, God, you know, remember me, Lord. And yeah, it's why I chose this. You know, Hans Caper knows he's gonna die. He's gonna be executed, and Henry knows it too. Horrible situation. Hans, you know, walking to the gallows is already like, you know, to kind of like funeral march, but it's not a funeral march in its real thing, because there is not that much of praising the deceased person and all this stuff. I mean, like he's walking this aisle, and people are, you know, throwing things at him and, you know, giving him names, you know, and cursing him and mocking him and everything, because he's about to die and he deserves it, they think so, because he was a poacher, and they don't know he's a noble. So instead of making a real march, which would be in 2, I actually created something which goes in 3 beats, but it has this slow, constant movement all the time. And I didn't want it to be sung with all the choir with the same rhythm completely. So they change a bit, so they are like finished the words one after another. It starts with altos singing, and there are the tenors and basses like following, like almost commenting. Maybe this is like what's going on in Hans Capen's head. You know, it's like, well, my life was so short, but I've had some fun, I've had some great moments, but this can't be everything. So I tried to, you know, depict it a bit or elevate this feeling a bit, you know, with the lyrics. But still, whatever the choir is saying, you know, and it goes up, and there is this huge build-up. And then, you know, it says again, like, you know, in the day I die, don't forget about me. But there is still this constant moving, you know, this constant rhythm, because, you know, you can't stop it. Once this is done, it's done, and yeah, you are over. So this is like the story behind it. And yes, I have to say that this was like one of a couple tracks when I finished it already in my notation software, when I just put it, you know, together somehow. I was like, well, this is probably bloody awesome.
This is handled so perfectly in terms of the pace and the timing and the heaviness that it deserves, and it's just they're so bloody good, aren't they? They really are. It's an incredible scene. That's the first time I've seen that like in its final
Yeah,
form.
we've seen a rudimentary version, haven't we? But certainly nothing. I don't think it had music on it. The one that we've seen. Certainly not the one I've seen. And
It was beautiful.
Nous arrivons à la fin de notre périple, mais comme on dit, chaque fin marque un nouveau départ, non ? Et chez Warhorse, une question est sur toutes les lèvres, et maintenant, qu'est-ce qu'on fait ? Y a-t-il encore des histoires à raconter dans le monde de Kingdom Come Deliverance ?
The DLCs are being already worked on. There's quite a bunch coming, and I think they, as in the manner of KCD, usually we are bringing something super new to the game or to the experience that will enhance it. It's not just some random new skins or whatever. Well, they will be for free, but the paid DLCs will be something new that is out of the ordinary. And then we are slowly but steadily also thinking of the future. There's a life after KCD2, so the studio plans are to, of course, it depends on the success and everything. We would like to grow even further. We would like to expand the team. It would be a shame if the team would scatter, so we need to give them a cool new project that is even cooler than the one before. Otherwise, they will go somewhere else for cool projects. And yeah, I think Warhorse will stay here for a while.
Like, of course they are. I don't like this modern obsession. Let's make prequel, remaster of reboot about the character that was standing in the background in the first scene of the first game, and let's tell his story, blah, blah, blah. I kind of hate it. It's a historical game telling about the events from history, so definitely there is a possibility to make a game about some other event with new or old characters.
You never think like it's going to happen. You hope it will, but you kind of just take each project as it comes, and you kind of go, well, let's see. But there's no idea of like, oh, this is going to go on for 10 years. As it has. I mean, I didn't think we'd be sat here 9 years later.
No, definitely not. And I think you're right, in the sense of it being a much smaller animal with KCD, the idea that there might be more, like anything, you're right, there's no guarantees that it will be a success and there will be more. Narratively, I think it was conceived as a trilogy. I think I'm right in saying that because KCD2 is so enormous, they've kind of eaten up the second two parts of that trilogy within KCD2. But yeah, of course, like in terms of like the quality of it and its potential success, there's no guarantees.
Daniel Vava, our creative director, said there's always something he's working on, and I guess that's like that's something I would sign right away. It's not like we have already 5 new projects in the pipeline, then we'll see which one is working, but the brain work must already, at least for the designers, they need to have already a clear idea of where the next episode or the next travel or the next destination could lead to.
So obviously KCD3, right?
I mean, that's a big question, right? If Warhorse will do forever medieval RPGs, what if not, right? So I think Daniel Vavra once said that he hates that when people are forced to do the same thing over and over again. So I can neither deny nor confirm that it will continue. But what I can tell you, which you probably played it already out there, so you know that there's a conclusion in KCD2. I don't tell you exactly what kind of conclusion, but a conclusion. I think we have to stay humble for sure. I mean, now it looks like we have a hit and stuff, but we should not forget where we come from and where we should go and like keep our feet on the ground in a way. KCD1 had several sink or swim situations. If the Kickstarter would have failed, we would never ever start even with KCD1.
We are here to stay. There are 250 people here, very qualified, very experienced, and indeed it would be waste of resources if we just let them go. You know, we don't want to let them go. We want to stay together. We want to do some next projects. I indeed cannot be specific about anything regarding the future, but Warhorse is staying here, and I hope that for a long time. Developing the game is a really long-term project. It's not something you just jump on, and you have to think about it long before you start committing development resources on it. So yeah, we have an idea.
Today we are over 200 people. We are maybe 240, 50, and we are pretty much at the same situation. Again, we feel that the process that we had was adequate to the situation where we were at the time, but we feel that going forward we need to reassess this and maybe going forward evolve this process in a way that will address this new situation. I would hope we will be in position to continue creating games that we want to create and creating games that are distinct and unique, and this is the kind of games that we are good at. And there is no point for us to start developing a first-person shooter or a football simulator.
Un jeu, c'est des équipes de talents qui bossent pendant des années. Mais malheureusement, ils n'ont pas toujours l'occasion de mettre en avant ce dont ils sont le plus fiers. Alors, on a posé une ultime question à la fin de chaque interview. Quelle est votre plus grande fierté sur Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 ?
To finishing it and finishing it on the time, I think is the biggest achievement we all did. For most people, and me included, it would be Gutenberg City. It's something which not many games tried so far. The combination of the size of the city, but still making it alive.
So I'm quite happy that we managed to assemble everything together, all the different pieces, that it works and feels much better than the first one.
So there's always this push to do things a little simpler. And I was the guardian of the quests in a way that I didn't allow any quest that would have this like kind of almost an MMO feel. I would never allow anything like this. And it was sometimes a heated debate, but no such thing is in Kingdom Come.
Even from KCD1, our main goal is to get people not skip the cutscenes. And and so far, what we saw, nobody is skipping the cutscenes, and we already even like get this like statistics from telemetry when the programmer told me like, hey man, look, the people are not skipping statistically the cutscenes, they are looking at them. And when people are watching it and enjoying it, this is like when I kind of think that we did a good job.
My personal accomplishment, I think, it's the clothing system and the way how the people just generally look.
That was really worked hard on by a whole team of concept art and character art department and technical, support of our, experts and programmers and everything, because it is something super challenging and very unique.
I thought that we will have to cut a lot of corners, but we were able to make the work so effective in the pipeline that we actually finished everything.
People have said things about the kind of healing power of games, for want of a much less kind of dramatic way of putting it. And I know that certainly from a mental health perspective, lots of people feedback that KCD, given that it came out around the time of the pandemic, and was a real kind of balm to get them through. And so for me, I was like, most of the work you do doesn't have that power. So yeah, unfortunately, I think, and that's a real team effort. I think that no one can take responsibility for that. That's just like something we all put together that you put out into the world, and hopefully it has that effect.
Putting together the first journalist gameplay event we did with KCD2, we invited 108, I think, outlets from all around the world together. There were 150 journalists or something like that. I was a little bit afraid because I had 10 hours of program, 11 hours of program, which is quite a lot, especially if you consider that most of the people flew in, so they had some traveling in their feet. But everyone who left the event wrote, or many of them wrote me afterwards saying that either this was an amazing day or even that it was the best gaming event they've ever been to.
Probably the most painful asset to make and with the greatest response was the announcement event. That was hell to make it happen, but it was worth it.
That was kind of insane to me, being on this huge set with all these really passionate people, and it spoke a lot to me about how much belief and love they had in this. Because you don't go to those lengths and project the game upon the walls of a cathedral and that kind of crazy thing they did, and have a live orchestra in St. Barbara. I mean, it's just insane, and it was like a badge of honor for this team.
I think it's really small things like the team is coherent, that we actually are really more like a family, and that no matter what, we are here and we support each other. This is not about millions of units, Indeed, it's nice, okay, so we did something which is successfully worldwide, but at the end of the day, it's very much about the everyday lives.
I feel happy that I put together a team of great people, and we made it.
The Warhorse Studios is about people, and I'm really proud that I managed to choose people I work with, and they're my friends, and we are great as a team.
if I'm proud about something, it's that I'm part of it. That I'm part of, there is this crazy bunch of people, it's like, I don't know, almost 300 of us, or how many now. Yeah, we all are doing something together, which in the end is amazing. This is like, that's the achievement. And like this amazing game, and my music plays in it. I said it in one of the interviews when we finished the first game, and I say it again, I still feel it's a dream.
Merci infiniment à Warhorse de nous avoir ouvert ses portes dans les derniers instants de KCD2. Merci pour votre temps, pour les photos qu'on a pu prendre sur place, pour les vidéos aussi. Et surtout, merci pour votre exigence, votre sens du challenge en interne et votre refus catégorique des raccourcis. On a parlé à des gens formidables et si on avait pu tout garder des entretiens, cette vidéo aurait probablement duré le triple. Mais qui sait, un jour peut-être. Raconter cette histoire a été un privilège. Et je pense parler au nom de nombreux joueurs. On a hâte de découvrir ce que vous nous réservez au studio pour l'avenir. D'ici là, audentes fortuna juvat.
Henry, our hero Henry, the fellow who helps his fellow man. Henry, reliable Henry, he gets the job done the best he can. Oh, oh, oh. Watch out, here we go. Oh, oh, oh. I can't hear you in the back. When you want to string your lute and trumpet with your black drum, who will pull a sheep gut out through the creatures who wrecked home? Oh, Henry, we thank you, Henry, the fellow who helps his fellow man. His fellow man, Henry, let's drink to Henry. He gets the job done the best he can.